Hey everyone, welcome back to On Isles Time. Brendan Yerkes, Cole Healy here with you in an emergency episode of On Isles Time as the New York Islanders announced on Sunday that they have fired Patrick Waugh and hired Pete DeBoer as the head coach. So we decided we needed to hop on here and have a mini episode this week with 1 week to go in the New York Islanders regular season to discuss everything that has been going on. It's been a whirlwind of a week. We're going to break it all down and still taking off the initial shock of the move, but settling in a little bit as the Islanders have had a couple days off here.
Yeah, it's been 3 days since it was announced, and yeah, I saw that notification right away, and it was yeah, I mean you could feel it coming. It felt like WoW was gonna be done at the end of the year, especially they missed the playoffs. But to see a coaching change happen with 4 games left is just unheard of, really. Like we saw it obviously a week ago or a week and a half ago with Bruce Cassidy going out in Vegas and then bringing in Tortorella, and you see that, and you're just like, you're shocked at that, right? You got a cup winning coach over there gone this late in the year. And then here are the Islanders now, even later in the year, making another coaching change. Yeah, it is shocking. It's crazy to see, but I mean, I think we both liked the move once we got past that that initial reaction. Once we kind of thought about it for a little bit, like it's looking promising. Obviously, with him being here, not just this year, unlike Tortorella, Pete DeBoer is the coach of the future for the Islanders. So yeah, still definitely shocking. I feel like it won't really hit until tomorrow night when they play that first game under DeBoer. But yeah, I like the move, and yeah, and it gives us stuff to talk about here. So
Right.
exciting
There's
times.
so much to say. It just for me when I first saw it, I was taken back, which was kind of annoying to me because I'm on my phone, I'm on Twitter like all the time, and I was away from my phone for like 10 minutes when this happened. My phone's blowing up, and like somebody texted me, and I see that I'm like, wait, what? So then I click on the Twitter notification because I have the Islander notifications on. I'm like, oh my god! I didn't know initially who they brought in or who they were having replace him. I just saw, oh wow, fired, and I click on the alert. I'm like, oh my god, Pete DeBoer! Like it was just like shocked, but overall, it's a good thing. I think the Islanders needed a guy like this, an experienced head coach, and yeah, like you said, for the future, he's here, and yeah, it's unheard of to have it happen now. But the consensus is if Waugh's going to get fired in the offseason, who Darch did not bring in Patrick Waugh, he's going to want to bring in his own coach. That why not get ahead of the list of maybe up to 5 suitors potentially that all want Pete DeBoer's services, being an experienced head coach known for having success in this league. So yeah, this season might be a wash. We'll get into that in a little bit, but it's good to have the thought and to make that move where everyone's saying it could be an impulse decision. No, this is a decision that was thought out and over the last couple of weeks came to fruition. And we've been pro Patrick Waugh for a while on the show, but even in the more recent weeks, I've seen it kind of coming undone where it felt like Waugh wasn't coming back just with the way they were playing. It was unsustainable. And yes, at times they were winning games, but it just wasn't sustainable the entire year with comebacks, crazy run and gun games, no defensive ability or structure. It was just all over the place. And it finally hurt them towards the end and it cost him his job. But yeah, crazy to see the way it happened with 4 games left, especially. But a necessary move for Patrick Waugh to go. And I know we said we probably thought he bought himself another year, regardless of playoffs or not. But I think just with the way it's looked the last couple of weeks, even if they were losing, it's just the way that it's looked is just unsustainable. And I think that's why they decided to make the move.
Definitely, yeah. I know I've been saying it for a long time. Like, I don't think Wall was ever really the problem, like, or the main problem. But I think it was also pretty clear he wasn't the long term solution. Like, obviously he was out of the NHL for a while coaching juniors, right? Bring him back in when you fire Lambert, and I was excited for that. Like, obviously, I mean that day I remember that just seeing Lambert was gone, and then just seeing a name like Patrick Waugh, just a legend for hockey, right? Like just having that name attached to your franchise is was just really cool to see, right? So I was very excited when they brought him in. Obviously got them to the playoffs that first year. Last year was a different story. Obviously, a lot of injuries just didn't go as planned. It was good to see him. Like, I have nothing really bad to say about Patrick Waugh. He represented the team well. Like, he was just like a decent coach. I feel like that's just the fairest way to put it. Like, again, like he was never the main problem, but he wasn't the answer to long term success. So I'm glad that took a chance on him. Right, obviously the Lane Lambert experiment did not work out. So I feel like that was the right time to bring him in there. And then now, yeah, it's like your Matthew Darsh knows he's probably going to fire him in the offseason regardless. So why not get ahead of the curve? And then here we are bringing in a guy who has been one of the best coaches of the last 10 years, 15 years. Yeah, just getting ahead of that. Like Matthew Darsh described him as getting the number one free agent before free agency even opens. So now, yeah, like if anyone can get this team into the playoffs, it's DeBoer. Obviously, it's a little tougher now where it's not they don't control their own destiny anymore. They pretty much have to win out. But yeah, like if anyone can get them on the right track, it's him. And obviously having 4 days off before the next game is helpful. You get three practice days here leading into tomorrow. So we'll see how the players respond. But yeah, it'll be an exciting finish to the year.
Patrick Waugh did the best he could with the hand he was dealt. And I know we said we'll give him, he gets his, this is the evaluation year for him that he got to bring in his own assistants, and it's technically year three or his third season at least. So he did well in the beginning, and yeah, like I said before, just unsustainable. But the day he was brought in, he did what he was supposed to do. Like he came in as a more like shock jock guy for Lane Lambert for a team that was supposedly playing to like the trot style defensive structure system under Lambert, but just to much less success because Lambert wasn't doing as good of a job with it. He brought them in. He kind of sparked some offense a little bit, experimented with things, and they had success. And last year obviously was a tough year, but his job was to kind of bring that team to play a different style and kind of open things up again. Maybe the players can't really play that style for the most part with who they have, which is also true. But I don't know if he gets another job in the NHL. The only way I see it happening is that if it's a young team up and coming that's bad, or maybe the young team that's like just blew it up and they're in between, like they're in the years of loading up on ammo and just developing players. Kind of like the Sharks of the last couple of years, where maybe you bring in a guy like that because you saw obviously Schaefer developed really well and Cal Ritchie's doing really well now, both having played under Patrick Waugh. So maybe a team like that in that situation. I can't think of one, right now because the league is all over the place right now. But a team that's not ready to take the step up towards winning, but is early in a rebuild where they want to develop talent. Will Wall want to take a job like that? I don't know. But the way this has gone, that's the only way I see it. Because I always knew Patrick Waugh wasn't the coach of the future. I thought he might be the coach to take them to a level where they can become consistently a playoff team. Obviously, that wasn't the case. And I obviously wanted it to work out with him because it's Patrick Waugh, like you said. Like he's a guy that's a legend of the sport, and to see him represent the Islanders for all these years was awesome for me to see. Just I said in our episode a couple months ago, we were talking about him, just hearing him talk in the press conference, just his knowledge of the game, his passion for the game. It was all so awesome. But just with the way things have gone, after we thought he'd get another year, but the line combinations, I think they were changed way too much. Things were all over the place. There were a lot of units that weren't working. It was, I think, the blind faith in some guys to figure it out. I think Palat kind of hurt him a little bit, which is that his fault? Not really, I guess. Just Darsh is the one who brought him in. But just with the way everything's gone, it made sense to make this move and to get the Islanders now an experienced coach for the first time since Trotz, something they desperately needed. So I'm thankful for Patrick Waugh for bringing some excitement back and for his passion and his energy for the team. But the time was right. If it was going to happen in the offseason, it's weird that it happened now. Like you said, 4 games left, but why not get ahead of it? And it's always a good thing, and it feels good internally when the Islanders can bring in somebody of this magnitude. It happened. We had this feeling with Trotz, and now to have this feeling with Pete DeBoer is something really good to see.
Yeah, and it's also just this with the Braden Shen trade, right? He had to waive his no trade clause to come to the Islanders. He was willing to do that. Obviously, that's a little different being at the same hotel, and I mean, he said it himself. He's like, yeah, if you have Patrick Waugh right in front of you, it's tough to say no to that. That's one guy who waived his no trade clause to come here. Now DeBoer, he could have waited it out a couple more weeks, and he would have had plenty of teams calling him, and he really would have had his pick there. But Matthew Darsh sold him on the future of this team. And what does he say? He calls him a number one free agent. He comes in. It's no secret that this team really hasn't signed any big name free agents. I was talking about it the other day. Andrew Ladd is the biggest free agent signing of our lifetimes. I think just like in terms of the biggest contract. Well, DiPietro, it's not a free agent. Different story.
Doesn't
but
count.
yeah, bringing in someone else, from another team, right? That Andrew Ladd contract, I believe, is still the biggest free agent contract that this team's given out. So now you got a vet like Shen wanting to come here. You got a great coach like DeBoer wanting to come here when he definitely could have gone somewhere else in just a few weeks or maybe a month or so. Like this could be just the sign of things starting to change. And obviously, having a guy like Schaefer that you can build around, like that's such a big part. And yeah, like who knows, maybe over the next couple of years. I personally don't think there's any huge free agent signings to be made this summer, but down the line, like just with how much the cap is going up every year, I think it's going to be more common to see shorter term deals. And then I think guys are going to test the market more than they have previously. So again, this could just be the start of just a new era in terms of how the Islanders approach free agency and being able to secure some of those guys where maybe in the past they wouldn't have been able to. And this is all speculation, right? It's still early, still haven't hit free agency yet. But it's signs it's we're going in the right direction. There's positive strides, and yeah, it makes you even more excited for the future. And obviously, this is just with Schaefer now, right? I can now imagine Victor Eklund. He's been pretty good in the AHL. Once he comes up, once he
He's so
starts
good.
turning into a consistent player, Kashawn Aitchison, once he turns pro, this is all banking on these guys, hitting their potentials or at least, being NHL players, right? But all signs so far looking good. There's just so much to be excited about for the future, and that's not only with the guys in the organization currently, but it's also just the leadership and the front office now being able to just the potential of who might come in the future.
Yeah, and we've been very positive on this show all season long. Before the season, we thought they'd be a playoff team and surprise some people. And while now we're both on the opposite for the rest of this year, that we don't think it's going to happen, just given the circumstances. They're 3 points back of both the wild card and of the division spot. So with 4 games to go for everybody, it's going to need to be a miracle. The Islanders have to go 4-0, and they need a lot of help. Philly to go 2-2, Ottawa to go 2-2, including beating them this upcoming Saturday. So we're kind of focusing this talk here, obviously, on what's to come. But Victor Eklund obviously has been great, and I just want to say it. Matthew Darche has been getting too much hate online. I mean, it's out of control. He hasn't even been on the job 1 year. And yes, it has not been perfect. And there's been a lot of moves that have not been great. Like the Braden Shen deal. Shen's been okay for the Islanders. Did they give up too much, in my opinion? Yes, they did. Would I like to have that first round pick? Of course. There's no first. There's the one first that the Islanders own, and then they don't have a second or third this year. That's not the best thing in the world. And then the other 2 trades weren't great. But for one, I'm happy with the Noah Dobson trade and not extending him. And some other moves have been good. But look, he was able to bring in Pete DeBoer and convince him to do this. So there's things that he's done well, and it's still early on in the vision. And I'm just encouraging fans to let the process play out. They have the coach now. See what Darch does this offseason to try to make this team better. I think him and Pete DeBoer are going to look at who's available and who's on this team now. And that's also part of why they brought him in to coach these last 4 games instead of waiting, is that they get like a mini little show of, or at least Pete DeBoer does, of who's going to be here and who's not. They could see what guys they need to clear out, maybe they buy out Andre Palat, which, isn't the worst thing in the world. You'd prefer that you didn't have to do it at all, but the cap hit isn't that big of a deal. But there could be guys that are on the move. There could be drastic changes. Maybe Darch wanted to come in his first year and say, all right, let's see what we have. It's an evaluation year, transition year. We said that before the season, but then they started winning. It could still be that, even if they don't make the playoffs. And maybe he said, I'm going to keep the team the way it is. I'm going to sit through it for 1 year, see what we have. I'll make minor trades to help the team maybe make the playoffs. If they don't, then maybe next year's the year where they sell off a lot of pieces, and then they kind of let the young talent go through. We don't know how it's going to go. I hope they don't get stuck in the mushy middle and just try to go and sign somebody big and overpay for somebody not worth it again. But this is the year where they could now, this offseason, start transitioning things. We think Victor Eklund's going to be on the team. He has had to put up a lot of points in Bridgeport already. Eisman we think will be in the AHL, but there's just a bunch of prospects coming in to AHL Hamilton for next year and a bunch of other guys. Who knows who they could draft or whatever. Obviously a lack of picks this year, but they could still add a first round pick because they have theirs. And having Pete DeBoer help develop these guys is so huge because he's done it with tons of young players on all the teams he's been on, and that's something that you need. He helps build winners, and yes, he hasn't gotten over the hump. He's had playoff success, but has never won the Stanley Cup. Obviously, 3 straight Western Conference final appearances with Dallas. He's been to 2 Stanley Cups before with San Jose and New Jersey. Not getting over the hump, but I think we'll all sign up if Pete DeBoer can make this team into a contender and a winner that gets there every year and goes deep into the playoffs every year. And if he's not the guy that gets them over the hump, fine, then maybe the next guy will. But if you get to that point, you have a shot. And hey, you never know. He might be the one. Maybe eventually, after all these years, he does win the Stanley Cup. We're getting ahead of ourselves here. But look at Paul Maurice. He coached for so long. He never got it. And, eventually it took whatever team he's on now, obviously Florida, however many teams he's coached, to finally win one. Maybe this is that team for Pete DeBoer. Again, getting ahead of myself, but that's the vision here. And now that they have that coach who's a winner and can build it, develop those young talent that we've seen all across the league, especially in Dallas, because that's a fantastic team now. That's the right move. And Darsh deserves a little credit for, having the stones to make this move with 4 games left. Never happened before. We thought it never happened before with Vegas. Now it's really never happened before with 4 games left. And Matthew Darsh is the one who made the move. So let's all ease off on him a little bit. We could be upset and frustrated, but I think people calling for his head is really ridiculous. And it's still early in the GM's tenure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a first time GM, right? Like how many first year GMs, let alone guys that have been on the job for a while, have the guts to fire a guy like Patrick Waugh this late in the season and then go on and bring on a great coach like DeBoer? Like it's like again, like we keep saying, it's unheard of. So that's the type of thing you want to see. You want to see your GM being aggressive. Obviously maybe not huge fan with the Palat trade. I understand the Susi trade. He just hasn't been very good, but you can at least understand why you wanted to go, get a guy like that, right? With Romano being out for as long as he has been. It just hasn't worked out. Similar with Palat. And then, you probably overpaid for Braden Shen. But again, like this is a guy who you don't want a guy that's going to sit back and not do anything at all.
Well, that would have been a problem too, though. Everyone would kind of revolt.
Yeah, no, you can't win. Like whatever he does, like there's going to be so many people, so many vocal people that aren't happy with him, and that's just the reality of pro sports. You see it with the Mets all the time. You see it really with every team, and obviously being in this type of market where all these fans are true diehards, you're gonna see a lot of negativity regardless of what the outcome is.
No matter who it is, there's no GM that's perfect. I mean, you obviously want to have a better one, but I could go back, in time here, and this might be crazy to say, but like Bill Torrey was the legendary GM for the Islanders, right? He built the dynasty team, but from people around in that era, there were a ton of moves that he made that weren't the best. I mean, I was obviously after they won the cups and trading players away and some of those moves, but there's no GM that's perfect as there's always some bad moves. Like Bill Zito's the guy in Florida. There's some moves he's made where he's given up too much. Like look at in Tampa, like we say, that's where Matthew Darsh came from. Julian Brisebois, he's given up 1 million picks for Tanner Jeannot, and there was another trade, the Bjorkstrand and Gord one that was last year. They got 2 good guys, but they gave up a lot there too. So it's they're a good team. But some of these moves don't always work out from the best GMs in the league. And I know I don't want to say, I'm not trying to say anything bad about Bill Torrey. Obviously, he built the Islanders dynasty, but just the point is that even the best and legendary GMs also make mistakes. It's impossible to be batting 1,000 as a general manager.
Yeah, and just like with this, so we're calling this a transitional year coming into the year, right? Like this is what you want to see when you're retooling. Like this is, it's not a rebuild, right? And now, obviously, going into the year, it was never a rebuild. But now seeing how good Schaefer's been right away, it makes it where you're even more eager to get back to that competitive stage. And it's, you're on a better track. You're on the fast track now to getting back into the playoffs and being a consistent playoff team. And obviously once you're a consistent playoff team, you take that next step to becoming a legit cup contender. But yeah, like again, this is what you want to see. Again, it would be nice to have that extra first round pick from from Colorado. But just seeing these moves be made like this, and DeBoer's a guy that he's known as a fixer. Like that's what you kept hearing when he was brought in. Obviously this roster's different than some other rosters that he's worked with. Obviously Vegas was so good when he went there. Dallas has been such a deep team for so long, so it's definitely a different roster than some of his last teams. But still, the pieces are there. Like Barzal and Horvat are still, Horvat just turned 31, right? Barzal, I believe, is gonna be 29. I think he's 28 now. Like even those guys, like that are on, I guess, the older parts of the core, like they still have plenty of time left. Ilya Sorokin's still here. Probably, I don't know. I think his Vezina the campaign might be over, given
it's going to Vasilevsky.
Some of the recent performances, unfortunately. But that's still a top 3 goalie in the league. And then obviously you got Schaefer, who's just unreal. And then you got pieces coming up. Even guys like Simon Holmstrom, we've said it on here before. You don't win a cup without guys like Simon Holmstrom. You just that I don't know how to describe it. It's just that type of player is so key on every cup contender. Every single cup winner has a guy like that. It's like the main pieces are there, and then it's just it's just going to take time to fill in the rest of the team, right? But as that happens, it's not going to be an instant thing either. It's going to take a couple years. But as those years go by and those pieces are added, like that's where you're really going to see a guy like DeBoer bring this team to the next step. Again, he hasn't won the cup. He hasn't gotten over that final hump, but he's made the finals before. He's had two losing experiences there. So he knows what it's like to go on a deep playoff run. So he can, as these pieces come in, as this roster gets filled out, it's just gonna get it's just so the future is just so promising. And now it's even more so than it was at the beginning of the year. Now that we have a legit coach who seems like I saw something saying it was 3 years after this year, so I'm saying it's four. I don't know what the
I
exact
think it's three.
because I know I think four was initially reported, and then some people were pushing back saying three. So whatever it is, he's if he sticks around through that whole contract, like he'll be here. Obviously, that'll be once Schaefer will be on his first, or I guess his second contract. Who knows if it's a bridge deal or if they lock him up long term. Regardless, like that's when you're probably going to see some of these guys really start to take that next step. And then he'll still assuming he finishes out his contract, I don't see why he wouldn't at this point with with where the team is at. Um, that's when you're really expecting to see some of that progress be made.
Right. And he's established, like I mentioned earlier, he has the structure. They needed an experienced coach. They didn't do the whole process of trying to find a coach. The last time they did that was Barry Trotz, because Lambert, they kind of did, but he was already on the staff. Doing it midseason, you don't get to interview many options and take your time with it, but you wouldn't have got a better guy than Pete DeBoer. So it makes it worth it. And he is the guy. And what you said, like this season might be a wash now, and it's a shame that it's going to end the way it's going to end, that they're not going to get into the playoffs, most likely, obviously. But we could still have that optimism and be disappointed. Like this year, I'm not like I wanted to make the playoffs. There's some fans that were like, "Oh, we should have, not made it in draft pick purposes, whatever." Wanted to make the playoffs, especially with how it's gone, and I still hope they make the playoffs within the next week, as unlikely as it is. But if they don't, as frustrated as I'll be with it, I could at least say things are looking up and there's something to look forward to. It's not the same team, and even if it is, they're going to ship guys out and bring new guys in, and especially the young guys that are going to come up. So there's that to look forward to, and that makes it okay moving forward. But Wah, overall in his tenure, he was 97, 78, and 22. He lost that one playoff series in 5 games. But Pete DeBoer, a whole lot more than that. He overall is 662 wins, 447 regulation losses, 152 overtime or shootout losses. But he's 97 and 82 in the playoffs, including 9 and 0 in Game 7. So hopefully next season they could have a strong year with the mix of young talent and their veterans, and then get in and hopefully get this future on track. But there's a lot to look forward to, as disappointed as we'll be, but we'll continue to have episodes come out here on Isles Time, and recap the end of the season next week, and then in the off season we'll keep it going again with just breakdowns of players' performances throughout the year and kind of what we could look forward to next year. A few more things we wanted to discuss while we came on here, just more player focused and less coach focused, but we'll see how things with Pete DeBoer now behind the bench affect things. The lines, though, Shen's been moved to the wing to play with Barzell and Ritchie, so that line stays together. DeBoer said he likes teams that have speed down the middle. Those are the teams that win. And so probably for the best, I think you would agree, just Shen losing his assignments defensively, especially in that Carolina game. So I think that might make it easier on him and puts Barzell back at his natural position.
Like Shen's got whatever, like 10, I think 10 points as an Islander, 11 maybe. I'm not sure the exact number right now. So yeah, the offensive production has been better than expected, but yeah, in his own end, having all that responsibility in his own end as a center, like he's definitely missed some guys, definitely been the reason for several goals against. So yeah, then you put Barzell back in the middle where I don't want to say he's most comfortable because he's said many times that he's comfortable both at center and on the wing. But yeah, just having Barzell there, having that speed down the middle, it's good to see. I mean, Shen and Ritchie, I know we talked about it last week. Like they've been pretty good together. And then just keeping Barzell there with them. I really like that line a lot. So again, Barzell, like and we've talked about it on here, I believe as well. I feel like this is Barzell's most complete season. Um, obviously he's had better years offensively, but just like in his own end, like he's been better. I feel like than previous years. Obviously, recently there's been some, like
Some bad
especially that.
turnovers. I think he's
Yeah,
just trying to create offense, but he's got nothing to do. Like some
yeah,
of the plays have been like a little boneheaded of where he's trying to pass it and the window he's trying to fit it through. We saw it in the first Philly goal last week. But overall, I mean, I feel like this is like adds to the discussion. Like, why are so many fans turning on him, just saying he can't be the guy, he can't get it done? It's like he's the only creative player on the offense. Like they need a guy like that. And yeah, there's been some bad moments, but it's just what is it? What else is he gonna do?
yeah. He's really like obviously when he's with Horvat, right? That's probably the best duo of so probably since Tavares and Vanek, right? Tavares Oposo, whatever you want to say there. And then now they gotta split them up, kind of even out the lineup a little more, balance it more. And yeah, I mean it's been solid, but yeah, like he doesn't have a whole lot to work with historically. Obviously, he's Cal Ritchie's been putting up points now, so who knows? Maybe that duo can get hot in these last 4 games. But yeah, I mean Barzell's been for most of his tenure with the Islanders, he's been the guy, and he's had nothing to work with. Like Jordan Eberle, solid, right? But that was probably his best line mate for a while. Anders Lee played with Beauvillier a couple years. I guess really just his rookie year. Um, and then obviously we trade for Horvat, right? They look great together, and then they have been great together. And then this year was really the first season that they've been split up for the majority of the year. It's different now where Barzell has to be the guy again on his line, and he's still been good. He's had a great year. Obviously, recently he's definitely struggled, along with the rest of the team. But yeah, I don't understand the hate for a guy who anytime he gets the chance, he's talking about how great the organization is, how great Long Island is. Homegrown guy, he signed a long-term deal before the Horvat trade, so there's still a lot of uncertainty there for the future. Where it's looking like they're stuck in the middle, no great prospects at the time. Like he put that pen to paper, signed that 8-year deal back in September, October of 2022. Like that's a guy who's committed to this organization, and yeah, it just hate to see some people turn on. I think the majority of the fans is still they still got his back. I feel like most people do. It's just yeah, again those local people on really on Twitter, Instagram, whatever social media you want to point to. Um, and yeah, it's just it just happens when it gets frustrating like this. You lose 4 straight in the biggest stretch of the season, and then yeah, everyone wants to blow it up. Everyone wants to trade everyone. So yeah, it is unfortunate to see that negativity surrounding a guy like Barzell, who he wins a cup here. You're probably looking at his jersey going up in the rafters. Again, obviously still got a lot to go before that, but yeah, no, it's unwarranted. But it's the old saying, winning solves everything. So if this team can get into the playoffs somehow, all that negative talk's gonna go away. You would think.
Right. So having him with Richie is good. Cal Ritchie has been really, really great the last couple of weeks. I've been so happy with his development. I think we said it on the last episode we made last week, but hopefully he can finish strong in these 4 games, and I'd expect that same compete level and just hoping for another big jump points wise for him next season. So looking forward to that. Moving to the third line, there's Shabanov, Peugeot, and Heineman. I'm excited to see Shabanov get a chance. Hopefully he gets a look for the last 4 games here, and hopefully the Islanders have a chance to bring him back. So much offensive potential. Yeah, he hasn't really gotten a shot under Waugh. Maybe DeBoer can find that talent in him and convince him to come back another year. He'll be an RFA, so we'll see what happens with that. But his defensive game needs some work, obviously, like a lot of people's do. But I think he's had so many guys just miss his chances when he set them up, or a lot of breakaways that hadn't gone in the first half of the year. So he kind of got put on the bench. Where if this team was in a spot where they weren't in a playoff position all year, I think a guy like Shabanov would get more looks. But since they were winning, you kind of had to be like, well, we have to keep up in the race instead of just experimenting with young players. So now he hopefully gets a look. He scored the other night, and he could be a wild card for next year if they decide they want to keep him around. But I'd really love to see that happen. I think playing with Peugeot is a really good player for him. Just to he always makes everybody better and helps everybody defensively and in their own end. And then Heineman has been proven to be good in the middle six. So I think that could be a good line that could potentially work. And again, these are all experiments for next year too to see who's here. Obviously, Peugeot and Heineman will be here, but if Shabanov is too, that's up for discussion. And then the fourth line has Palat, Cizikas, and Gatcomb. With Palat being on the fourth line, I think it makes it better instead of trying to force him somewhere where he can't go. So that makes things a little bit better. And then the decor is about the same, but all thrown around with D'Angelo coming back. And also, Tony D'Angelo, I think, deserves a lot more respect from Islander fans. Now, since he's been out, you could see how much worse the D is as far as moving the puck and even defensively. Because, yes, Tony D isn't the best guy in his own end, but it's better than what we've seen without him in the last couple of weeks. So hopefully that wakes some people up, and then they decide to give him a little extension here this offseason.
Yeah, D'Angelo's such a key part of this team. It's really him and Schaefer, the two best puck movers on the back end. So yeah, it's really the downfall really started when he went down. Obviously they won that next game against Dallas, but yeah, it hasn't been pretty since then. So yeah, hopefully it's looking like he'll be back tomorrow. And again, that's huge. So he'll be today. He was skating with Adam Pelech. Then another guy who, people don't appreciate enough, I think, is Alex Romanov. Yes, he had a very tough start to the year. He had an injury early on. He came back before going down against Dallas back in November. Like he's been up and down during his time with the Islanders. Like sometimes he'll look great, sometimes he's struggled. But you have a guy like him over Carson Soucy, like that's gonna make a huge difference. And Matthew Dar said the other day that the expectation for this whole time was that Romanov probably wouldn't return unless the team made the playoffs. Now it's looking like he might be available for those last two games. He's been skating again. He's been practicing full contact. Um, I think that started yesterday on Tuesday. So we'll see. We'll see if Romanov can draw back into the lineup. But yeah, I mean, if you go Schaefer and Pulak, you go Pelech and D'Angelo, and then you go Romanov Mayfield for that bottom pair. Like that's a
Works for me.
solid, yeah, that's a very solid decor right there. So who
And
knows?
the whole
Maybe
Susie thing never happens if Romanov's in. I mean,
absolutely.
that injury, threw things off for that spot.
Yeah, it's like I was saying earlier. It's like I understand why that trade was made, right? Because you didn't, you had Isaiah George, you had Marshall Warren, you had all these other guys that you're experimenting with. Susie's a guy who he's been around a while. He's played a lot of games. He's played consistently on bottom pairs and other teams. So it's like you understand why Darcy's going to go out and trade for a guy like that. Just a rental, just for the rest of the year, right? Especially with the expectation being Romanov's done for the regular season. It just hasn't worked out, right? But then with it being a down year for Romanov leading up to the injury, getting him back would be such an improvement over Susie. I think people are going to realize that if he is able to draw back into the lineup before the season ends.
Of course. And, back on Schaefer to kind of get close to wrapping this one up here. Obviously, a shorter episode with us recording last week, and we're going to do another one next week. But hasn't scored in a while. And I feel like just with the whole team kind of imploding and the D not having a lot of experience there, him kind of getting thrown to the wolves a little bit. He hasn't been able to score in a while. And where we thought it was a lock that he would break, not only just tie, but break the rookie defenseman goals record, it's now a question if he'll even get one just to tie it. So hopefully he gets that one in the last four games, gets to 23. If he gets two and takes the sole lead of that record, that would be awesome because who knows if that'll get broken again anytime soon. But he's got to at least get the tie. We thought it was a lock, but it's been a little while since he scored. So rooting for that. But he's now, as you put, the all-time what is it? The all-time rookie points leader for a defenseman or
I
for
think it's
Islanders history.
points by an 18-year-old defenseman.
Right.
So yeah, broke that record on Saturday night in Raleigh. He had an assist on that legal late. Cool to see. Obviously, would have liked to finish the comeback off, but yeah, I mean, it's just he's just been so good, and it's like you're just used to it at this point. Like he's broken so many of these records, some of these 18-year-old records, some of the 18-year-old defenseman records. Yeah, so everyone is cool. It'd be very cool to see him tie and possibly break that rookie defenseman goal record, but at this point, that takes a backseat to making the playoffs. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens these last four games, all at home. So if he's gonna tie or break that record, it will be at home in front of the Islander fans. Yeah, so I mean that would be pretty cool, but yeah, definitely not the focus for this next week.
Yeah, that would be great. My fault on that mix-up there. But Yeah, still any record is a good record. But lastly, I wanted to touch on this ties back to the new coach, but as far as the leadership goes, with Anders Lee being here, and it's kind of been, I guess, the same story a little bit now. Do the Islanders need to maybe make a change with the captain? I mean, we got to think Lee's going to be back next year. He's going to want to be back, but it feels like Horvat's kind of like taking over that role with just the way things have been going. So I don't know if they make that change or they kind of have a changing of the guard, but it's kind of a tough scenario.
Yeah, it's like Lee's been around for so long. Like career Islander, I really can't see him going anywhere else. I think he'll be back on maybe a 2 year deal. We'll take a hometown discount. It's like I feel like there's a lot of talk about this. Like I agree that Horvat is the next captain of this team, and then once Horvat's done, it'll be Schaefer. But like everyone's leadership style is different. Like fans are not in the room; they're not seeing what's happening. Like you can tell with Lee, like he's a vocal guy in the room. Like I imagine he's giving speeches when necessary. So yeah, I mean, to see it this like you hear it a lot too. Like a letter is not going to change how guys act, whether Horvat has an A or the C. And same with Lee. If Lee keeps the C or if he ends up going down to an A, like they're both gonna act the same way. So I don't think anything's really going to change. Like regardless of who's the captain. Who knows? Yeah, maybe maybe he realizes going. He's obviously getting towards the end of his career. He's still a solid player. Right? He's got a couple years left, but he's getting towards the end of his career. Like I said earlier, Horvat just turned 31, and I think he's signed through 2031. I'm correct on that. Um, but who knows? Maybe Lee steps down, hands the C off to Horvat. I know back in the late '70s, I think it was Clark Gillies had the C, and then he handed it off to Dennis Potvin, and obviously they went on, and that was right at the start of the dynasty. Yeah, so who knows what happens there? But yeah, I don't really think that that'll make too much of a difference. I know a lot of people are calling for Horvat to get the C just because of the comments in the media, but yeah, I really don't think anything's gonna. I don't think anything would change in the room with
Yeah, I don't expect any changes either. I just thought it was worth mentioning because it's kind of been out there, and with Lee being around for so long, that maybe a changing of the guard could be possible. But with the new coach, anything is up in the air. But a lot of questions to be answered this season. But that's going to do it for On Isles Time, episode number 21, our last episode in the regular season. Next one will be next Wednesday, which will be the day after the Islanders' last game of the season. Hopefully not the last game overall this year, but looking likely that is the case. 4 games, 3 points back of the wild card spot and 3 points back of the Metropolitan 3 spot. Unlikely, but hoping the Islanders can run the table here with Pete DeBoer as their head coach. But again, if this year doesn't work out the way we want it to, then we have the optimism for the future, and we'll break that all down. Make sure to follow us on our social media channels. We'll be putting out extra content regarding New York Islanders games and everything going on around the team at On Isles Time. And yeah, this was On Isles Time, episode number 21. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully the Islanders and Pete DeBoer can go 4-0 this weekend.